Okay, in this video I'm going to go ahead and start placing my components. I think the first thing I'm going to start out with are these male-to-male headers. This is the 3-prong, and what these are for are to attach the servo cables to the breadboard. Um, one of these is going to go from C5 to C7, so I'm going to place that right there. Another one is going to go from B7 to B9, right there. Now I also have a 2-prong male-to-male header, and that's going to go from G2 to G3. This is where the battery connector is going to go. And then I also have a slide switch that is going to go from J3 to J5. And what that's going to do is that's going to supply power to the board from the battery to the microcontroller chip. And then I'm going to be using the 5-volt regulator to go ahead and power 5 volts to these bus strips so that later on when I put my infrared receivers and infrared LEDs, they're also going to be getting 5 volts as well. Now, one thing that I don't want to have 5 volts is the servo. And so that's why I go ahead and I have these wires here. It's taking the full 6 volts from the battery terminal and go ahead and supplying them with 6 volts for the servos. Now, another thing that I want to do is actually go ahead and insert the resistors onto the board. Now, this particular one is a 2K ohm resistor. You can tell because of the colors. The first bar right here is red. This second bar is black, and the third bar is red. The first two colors are significant digits. So red stands for 2 and black stands for 0. So you put those two together, 2 and 0, that would be 20. And then the red bar on the third one is what they call a multiplier bar. And since that also stands for 2, a real easy way to remember it is just put 2 zeros on the end of 20 and you're going to get 2000. So this is a 2000 ohm resistor right here. I have 2 of these, and I'm going to place one between B27 and B23. So I'm going to actually bend these, okay, right like that. And then I'm actually going to take my wire strippers and I'm actually going to cut them about right here, okay. That should be quite enough room for them to actually go ahead and fit into the board. Remember, they go in B23 to B27. And they fit right in there like that. Now notice I have the gold bar going up top. It really doesn't matter how you set these in, but I like for things to kind of be uniform. And since A1 is right over here, I'm actually going to flip this the other way around so that the first bar on the LED is actually facing towards the top of the board. Now I have another resistor that is a 220 ohm. You can tell that by, again, the first 2 bars are red, so that's 2 and 2. So you're going to put 22, or you're going to put 2 and 2 together to get 22, and then brown is equal to 1, and so that means you're going to add 1 0 to the end of 22 to get 220. You're going to bend this again, right like that. Go ahead and snap off the leads. Now this is why you're wearing the safety glasses right here. And you know, it's better to go ahead and cut long. And then if you find out that the LED or the resistors are still poking out a little too far, just go ahead and take them back out and clip a little bit more off the leads. It's better than cutting them too short and then having to get rid of the resistor and go find a different one. All right, there we go. So that one is going to be going from C24 to C28. We have a couple more resistors that we're going to put in. This one is another 220 ohm, going to bend it. right here. I'm going to clip the leads. So we're going to take that over here like this. And this one, 220 ohm, it's going to go between E25 and F26. So E25 to F26. And then I'm going to be taking my 2K ohm resistor. Remember, that's the red, black, red. I'm going to bend those leads right like that. Put the leads right there. And that's going to go from E26 to F27. And then finally, my final resistor is going to go up here. It's going to go from J25 to ground. J25 to ground, right there. That's going to be time to go ahead and put in our LEDs. So, okay, on our LEDs, I need to point out something on there. Do you see the longer lead on this LED? That is called the anode side. It's the more positive side of the LED. And then the shorter side is called the cathode. In order to get this to light up, we're going to have to make the longer lead more positive than the shorter lead. Now, how we're actually going to wire this, another way to tell, just in case you clip the leads, is by looking at a little flat notch. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but if you look here, this side over here where the shorter lead is, it has a little flat notch on it, and that also tells you that it's the cathode. If you don't see a notch, there might be, if you don't see a flat side, there might be a little notch etched out of there telling you that that is the cathode. How we're actually going to hook this up is, since we have this one side of the resistor going to ground, this is where my cathode is going to go, or the short lead, and it's going to go from the cathode is going to go into I-25, and then the longer lead is going to go into I-24, right like that. Now we also have a capacitor, and this right here is going to go between the blue ground and the red power. You see this little mark right here? This tells you that this lead is positive, and so you're going to need to put this one in the positive slot, and then the other lead is negative. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut a little bit off of these leads so it's a little bit closer to the board. Go ahead and make sure you don't have any that facing, and then this is a good place for that in between here. Now remember, the positive lead is going to red, the negative lead is going to ground. And we're quickly running out of components to put on here. We only have a few more to go. This right here is another LED. Now this is an infrared LED, and so same as the red, you're going to have the short leads, which are the cathode, and you're going to have the long lead, which is the anode. Now another thing we're going to have is, remember, we have these little LED sleeves and caps, and we're actually going to go ahead and insert this in here. Make sure that the leads go through the holes, and they each go through their own separate hole, and they should fit right in there nice and perfect. Now remember, these sleeves are 3D printed, and the files are available on here. Now this sleeve should go on, this cap should go on the sleeve and clip nice and be real nice and firm. Another thing that you need to remember, notice that these are black. I had to use black filament. I was going to go ahead and coordinate it with the color of the robot, but found out that when I used the green filament, the infrared light actually leaked out. Now you can still use that, but you're going to need to put some electrical tape around it. I thought I was going to have to put electrical tape around this black plastic, but found out that the black actually absorbs the infrared light and doesn't allow the sensor to actually see it, so it eliminated me having to put tape. But if on your printer you do have problems putting this cap on, like it's too loose and it's falling off, then by all means go ahead and put electrical tape on there to keep it on. Now what we're going to do here, the anode is going to go directly to power, and then the shorter lead, the cathode, is going to go to that resistor, the 2 kilo ohm resistor. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bend this just like that, okay, with the short cathode lead facing towards me, and then I'm going to actually put that, I'm actually going to bend this right like that, kind of at an angle, something like that, to where it fits into the board real nice and neat. And that's going to go from J27. The cathode is going to go into J27, and then the anode is going to go into the red bar. And you kind of want it facing out a little bit at an angle. We're going to do the exact same thing with the other LED. Make sure that you place it through separate, each lead through separate holes. Go ahead and put the cap on right here. Now this one fits a lot looser than the previous one did. So I'm kind of just turning it a little bit. Looks like it works a little bit better. I'm bending these leads the opposite way to where the longer lead now is facing me, because on this end it's going on the opposite end of the board. And I'm actually going to go ahead and bend this lead out here like that, so it will go ahead and cross over right like that. And then this is going to go in the cathode is going to go in A27, and the anode is going to go to power. And that needs to kind of be facing out at a little angle as well. Now it's going to be time for the infrared receiver. And this is, now you're going to see why we did the fancy wiring job here with the diagonal angle and bending this bar. All we're going to have to do is take this 3-lead component. When you're looking at the back of it, okay, this first pin is going to be power, the middle pin is ground, and then this third lead, the one on the right, is actually your data wire. And you're going to place pin 3 in G30. You're going to place the middle lead into H29, and you're going to place pin 1, the one that goes to power, into I28. And then just go ahead and insert that in there, right like that, and then kind of face it at the same angle as the LED. We're going to do pretty much the same thing with the other infrared receiver, except it's going to be facing the other way. And pin 1 is going to be going into D30. The middle lead, the ground, is going to be going into C29. And then the pin 3, the data pin, is going to be going into B28. And then face it at the same angle as the infrared LED. And so now we've gone ahead and we put all the components in there. The only thing that we have left is putting in the microcontroller. Okay. Now I do want to point out on the microcontroller that how do you put this in? Well, this right here, the USB port, is actually going to be facing the infrared LEDs and the infrared receivers. And so then these headers over here are actually going to be facing the servo connectors and the switch. Now if you notice, that pin right down here says VN right there. So that's where you're going to be putting your voltage input. It should be lined up with row 10. And where we're specifically going to put the VN is H10. So I'm going to line this up to where these pins, I'm going to kind of rotate that, see if you can see that. But that hole is H10, and so I'm going to place this to where VN goes into H10. Now all of my other leads should also be lined up perfectly. D13 over here in this opposite side, it should be going into H24. Okay? So before you place that in, kind of just insert it a little bit to where it's not in all the way, but it's making good contact. take it on the table, and then just go ahead and press it in all the way. And you've just completed wiring your board. Now in the next step, we're actually going to load up our Arduino IDE software, hook up a USB cable right here, and we're going to send our first program, the blink program, that's going to make this LED blink on and off.